and welcome to another fantastic tutorial with myself, Jeremy McGuinness, aka the Irish Photoshopper. And in this tutorial we're going to go through the image which you see in front of you. We're going to edit using Photoshop, which is what I like to call the land of giant rhinos. And be sure to hit like and subscribe to this channel. It really helps us out and it really helps us to grow, which is hugely important for us right now. So without further ado, let's get to it. So the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to press Ctrl or Command J to duplicate our background layer. We then duplicate on the layer writing and rename it to background. Then just click enter when you've typed out. From here then we're just going to go to our gradient tool on the left hand side. Make sure our color is on black in just a moment, so make sure you select this gradient tool. Make sure it's on black. Put a mask on that top layer, then just slowly use the gradient tool just to blend out the background, like so. Then go on to your background layer or your background image, drag and drop it in on top of your current workspace, and then drag and drop it under the background layer. From here, just press Ctrl T just to transform, and just get it to transform to the basically to the way you want it, but this is just how I liked it for now. Then just line it up, hit the tick, good to go. From here we're just going to come into our adjustments. We're going to create a levels adjustment there, and then we're just going to bring down the highlights. Like so. No. Now, from here, we're just going to select our brush. Make sure our color is on black. Just change the angle of the brush. Make sure it's a nice soft brush. Just adjust the size of the brush with the bracket keys on your keyboard. And make sure that you are on the mask on the levels layer. And then just slowly just paint out some of the dark pixels and bring back through the bright pixels from underneath. Like so. Let me just go back and select soft brush. I'm liking how this is starting to look so far. Let's go in and select our rhino. Go to our quick selection tool. Click select subject. Let's just add any selections that weren't included. Just refine the edge a little bit. Click select the mask just to see how our edges are looking. I'm just going to up the smoothness to around 5. And click OK. And then we're just going to click our mask button. From here, apologies, let me just make sure we click the mask again, select our move tool, drag and drop this rhino into our workspace that we're currently working on. Press Ctrl or Command T just to adjust the size of it until you get it to the size that you want. When you're adjusting the size, make sure you hold shift to keep the quality of the image basically regardless of what size you make it. From here, go down to our adjustments, select the levels adjustment and clip the clipping mask button and bring down the highlights. Then on the mask of the levels layer that you've just created, let's select a brush, opacity of 20%, flow of 100. Make sure that you are on black as the color, and just slowly start painting out those dark pixels and bring back in some of the bright pixels from underneath. This will just allow us to help us wear some of our highlights later down the line. Then we're going to create another layer just above our levels, and then we're just going to select a nice black, soft black brush, opacity of 20%, and just start slowly making the pixels around the rhino a little bit darker. Now if you notice that there's still some of the unwanted pixels from the rhino layer in the image, so what I'm going to do is click on the mask of the rhino with a nice soft black brush, opacity 100%, flow 100, and just slowly go around the edges of the rhino and just blend out those unwanted pixels and those harsh edges, like so. Just zoom out. From here, just click back onto that levels adjustment layer that we were editing with a nice soft black brush. Opacity, let's just leave it at 24%. Make sure it's on black and just start painting around the rhino just to add a little bit more highlights. Let's select our crystals, bring them into the workspace and just drag and drop them on top. Press Ctrl T and hold the shift button just to adjust the dimensions. If you want, you can turn down the opacity on the crystals just to see the edges of the actual horns of the rhino to make sure that it's lining up correctly. It might take a little bit of adjusting or just a little bit of messing about, but get it to look the way you want it to look. From here, just turn your opacity back up. Select the mask. Select our brush. Let's zoom in a little bit. Make sure that our brush is on black. Let's just have a look here and see where our edges are. Just turn down the opacity on the crystals there. Again, select our brush. Make sure our color is on black. Let me actually turn up the opacity to 100%. Make sure the flow is on 100, and then just blend out those unwanted pixels from the crystal. Just like so. And if you have blended out too much, just change the color back to white and blend back in the pixels that you want brought back in. Zoom out. From here, just turn the opacity back up. Now what we're going to do is just zoom in on the actual crystals and just let's add some depth to the edges around the crystals. So select the brush, make sure the color is black. Okay, let's just create a layer below the top layer. Let's turn the color to black and just slightly paint on the inside of the rhino's horn, and this will add some depth to the crystals, which will help it blend, and it makes it look like that it's blending into the nose or into the horns correctly. Just like so. Just take your time, go around the edges. From here you can change your blend mode to multiply and then just pull down the opacity a little bit. Excellent. From here, let's just zoom back in a little bit. Let's create another adjustment layer underneath the top layer. Make sure your color is on black and just go around the outside of the horn. So just gently around the outside. Again, always make sure that your brush is on nice and soft. Change it to multiply, then just turn down the opacity. Let's say 27. Really starting to like how this is looking so far. From here, let's create an adjustment, hue and saturation, and make sure that it's a clipping mask. Click colorize button. Bring it to the color that you want. Up the saturation. You know, you might want to make it a red horn or whatever. Just again, bring up the saturation. Mess about till you get it look the way you want it to look. I actually went just for a normal overlay just here right for now. And now what we're going to do is, I did mess about with, you know, the likes of linear dodge and overlay and so forth, but I wasn't really liking it, so I left it as a normal blend mode. It's just how I preferred it to look, to be honest with you. You click on the mask of the hue and saturation and just blend out any of the blue unwanted pixels. From here, create another a new adjustment layer. Let's clip it to the layers below. Let's hold Alt and select our color drop tool and select the color blue that we want. Top right hand corner, you can up the brightness of the actual color of the blue. Paint over the horn, nice and soft, and change the blend mode to overlay, and then just bring down the opacity a little bit. and just get it to look the way you want it to look. Create a new adjustment layer with the same blue, just paint over the crystal. Let me have a quick look. Let's see. Let's put it as a screen overlay, I think, for now. Then press Ctrl T and just change the size of it. What we're going to do is we're just going to bring it down a little bit now in just a moment, like so. Click the tick. Next what we're going to do is click on the copy of our background layer, go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. Let's bring it down to around 4.8, click OK. Then we're going to click on our sky background layer, go to Filter, Blur, and in this one I think we'll go for a fill blur and just follow the on-screen instructions, what you see in front of you there. Just turn it down a little bit. Yeah. Let's see. Don't want to blur out too much of the rhino. Happy with how that's looking, click OK. Then what we're going to do is going to click on our rhino layer, click Filter, Blur, and let's go with a fill blur again. And just bring down the blur just a little bit, just so the edges of the rhino are blurred out just a tad, but not too much of the face. So if you want to add another blur part of it, just click on any other part of the image and adjust the settings on it. From here, click OK. Really starting to set the tone on this now. Let's see what's looking. From here, just create a brand new adjustment layer. Again, paint over the crystal once and change the screen mode to overlay. Let's create another adjustment layer. Let's, on top right hand corner, let's just up the blue just a little bit brighter, and let's just paint some of where we feel like the highlights are going to hit the rhino from the blue crystal. So just paint it onto the rhino, and in a moment what we're going to do is we're just going to change the blend mode to overlay and turn down the opacity just a little bit, just to make it look like the highlights, the light from the blue is hitting the rhino, like so. You don't want it too harsh, and you also don't want it unnoticeable, so just find the right balance for you. I like that look. If you want to add more, just click on the picture and just add extra highlights. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe to this channel, it really helps me out. Really looking to grow this channel, so your support means a lot. From here, what we're going to do is go into our image of the baby, where I click quick selection tool and click select subject. And let's click the mask button and then use our move tool to drag and drop the baby into the picture. Let's press Ctrl T or Command T and let's adjust the dimensions. Again, hold shift when you're adjusting the dimensions to keep the picture quality, and just resize the baby to the size you want. Click the tick. From here, let's just zoom in a little bit. Let's get rid of those unwanted pixels around the baby. So select the mask beside the baby, make sure you're on a nice soft black brush, and just blend out those unwanted pixels. And you can actually blend the feet into the frame as well, or into the background, or into the ground layer, apologies. Let's zoom back out. Let's create an adjustment layer underneath the top layer, a nice soft black brush. Just paint a line as if it was a shadow, and then change the blend mode to overlay. From here, go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. Actually, do not change it to overlay, leave it as normal. So after you've done your Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, just change the blend mode back to normal. Press Ctrl T, just to, once you've done that, to line up the shadow just underneath the baby. You can turn down the opacity again a little bit, if needs be. I'm just having a look here. So from here, all you do is click on the baby layer and click on our adjustments, click our levels, and then click our clipping mask. Let's bring our highlights down a little bit. Let's darken the baby a little bit. Then what we do is, while we're on the mask of the baby, let's select a nice soft black brush. Let's zoom in. Again, make sure you're on the mask of the levels adjustment. Excuse me, I'm on white, I should be on black. Let me just adjust the opacity down a little bit as well. Change it to black. Let's just paint it around the edges of the baby where we feel like the light is going to hit them from the crystals. I hope you're enjoying this tutorial so far. Again, please leave your feedback in the comment section of things that you'd like to see improve or edits that you would like me to do. And again, it's just about taking your time and just going around and, you know, basically seeing where the light's going to hit the baby from. So let's just create a brand new color balance layer underneath that levels layer, and let's just make sure that you have click the clipping mask button, and let's adjust the tones just like you see in front of you here now. And let's color match the baby. So we do our mid-tones, then we just do a little bit in the highlights. Actually, let's put that as 0. Press enter. So far so good. So let's just zoom in a little bit in the baby. Let's create a new adjustment layer. Make sure that that top layer was clipped, obviously. So the new adjustment layer, make sure that you can press hold or press and hold Alt to make it a clipping mask. Let's go to our brush tool. Let's select the color blue that we feel will be for the highlight around the image of the baby. You know, you'll already have your blue that you are on currently, or you can press Alt and select the part of the crystal. Then the top right hand corner, you can just go to whatever color tone of the blue you want, make it nice and bright. Then paint it around the edge of the baby, around the edge of his hands and his arms and so forth, where you feel like a little bit of the highlight from the light will hit him. Let's change the blend mode to screen. Let's bring the opacity down a little bit. Let's go to filter, blur, gaussian blur. Let's make it around, let's see, 1.6. Click OK. You don't want it too harsh. Let's select a new adjustment layer. Again, hold Alt to make it a clipping mask, or Command. Let's use our brush. Again, let's just paint on the inside of the baby's face, so where some of the light may hit him, you know, additionally, like so. Let's change the blend mode to overlay. Let's bring the opacity down a good bit on this. Okay, just let me have a look here. Let's put a mask on that with a nice soft black brush. Let's just paint over the eye, bring some of the eye back in because there was blue covering the eye, which we don't want. Let's zoom out. Actually, let's create an adjustment layer where our brush, again on the same brightness blue that we had a moment ago. Let's just click over the baby once and change the blend mode to, let's say, soft light on this one. If you want, you can zoom back in a little bit. Let's create a layer just under the baby layer. Okay. And what we're going to do is select a nice soft black brush. I'm just going to paint in some shadow under the baby there. So just paint in the shadow how you feel the light will reflect it. Change the blend mode to multiply. Let's bring down the opacity. Again, adjust it to the way you want it to look. Try not to make it too harsh, and again, try not to make it too light. Just trying to hit that sweet spot. Again, you can zoom in and out as you please. Let me have a quick look here. Let's create a new adjustment layer underneath the top layer. A nice brush, nice soft brush. Let's hold Alt to select the color blue we want again. and we can adjust the brightness up in the top right hand corner. Again, let's just go around the edge very quickly there on the baby, add some additional highlights, change the blend mode to overlay, and let's bring back down the opacity. Okay, then we can put a mask on that if we want, and just blend out some of the unwanted highlight pixels that we just added, like so. From here you can zoom in and out as you please. My eyesight's not great, so that's why I have to keep zooming in and out. You can turn down the opacity on that again just a little bit. I have it down to around 27. So from here now, what we're going to do is just having a quick look at some of our layers. Let's select that layer 15 and create a brand new layer above it. I'm going to select a nice soft black brush and just paint a little edge around the baby itself. So this is going to make it look like a little bit of shadow. I'm going to blend them into the ground layer a little bit more. Okay, then just turn down the opacity a little bit. Let me just go around it once more just to make sure. I'm starting to really like how the edge of the baby is looking. I can go to filter, blur, gaussian blur, 1.6 and just click OK, and then again I can turn the opacity back up a little bit if I wanted to. And then from here, then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn on and off some of the layers. I just want to see how this is looking. So let's go to our burn tool on the baby layer. Let's select the baby layer, select our burn tool, make sure exposure is around 24%, and we're just going to start to darken some pixels just around the baby here. We're going to add some shadow to him, like so. Okay, so dodging and burning is really where it's going to make your highlights and your shadows pop and make it look like your light sources are coming from the correct direction, and that it's creating the correct shadows. Just go around and darken the edges of the baby that are already pretty dark, because as I was saying to you, we've added some highlights. So go around the baby with the burn tool and let's make sure that we have those pixels just darkened for now. Okay, and just, you know, darken the pixels, just the right amount of darkness that you feel is correct. Again, you might want a different look to yours than I have to mine. This is just a guide. Let's create another layer just underneath the baby layer. And let's select a nice soft black brush. Now if you do hear a dog bark in the background, apologies, it's the neighbor's dog. Let's just create paint on black and just create a bit more shadow. Let's change the blend mode to overlay, to multiply, then add another Gaussian blur. Let's up it a little bit, this time around 4.9, click OK. Then we down our opacity a little bit. As you can imagine, wherever your light source is creating, create a shadow in that opposite direction, or in the direction that the light is facing, but create the shadow behind your subject. Then all I'm going to do is, with our burn tool, we can go back in onto the baby layer and just darken around his feet there. Okay, and create some shadow on his feet. So the baby layer, select the burn tool, and again just go around the feet. From here, if you want, you can just select some of the other layers that we've made some blackness on, and we can darken them with our burn tool. Really starting to look nice. Let's create a new adjustment layer on top of everything. So right at the top, let's select our brush. Let's bring our flow down to around 30%. Make sure it's on black. Let's just paint over the rhino just a little bit like this. And let's create some darkness around the rhino, some shadows. We can bring our opacity down to around 61%. Just going to click on our layer at 18, create a brand new adjustment layer, hold Alt to select the color blue, and then just paint over the baby a little bit. Then just change the blend mode to overlay. So what this has done has created a highlight of blue just behind the baby, and you can make the adjustment. You can up or lower the opacity as much as you please. So make sure that you select the layer under the baby, a new layer under the baby, create a new layer under the baby. Select your blue, paint it, and it'll appear behind the baby for you. Then we can go through some of our other layers below and just adjust the opacity on them, make sure that the shadows are not too harsh and so forth. So what we're doing is on your layer 20, press Ctrl T, and you can adjust the dimensions, the size of the blue light and where it's coming from. And again, you can adjust your opacity on any of your layers if shadows are too harsh or highlights are too harsh. From here, let's create a brand new color balance layer at the very top. Let's just adjust the values like you see in front of you. Create another adjustment layer. Let's make it a curves layer and just bring down the mid-tones just a tiny bit. Like so. Press Shift, Control, Alt and E to create a brand new layer with all of our adjustments below. Go to our filter, camera raw filter. Let's up the clarity a little bit. This is where we're going to start painting now in just a moment. Click OK, press Control or Command J to duplicate that layer. Go to your filter, go to stylize and go to oil paint. And just adjust the values to the best you see fit, but if you look on screen, I'll just speed it up a little bit. These are the values I selected. And just click OK. Then on that layer, just turn the opacity down a little bit. And then what we're going to do is on the left hand side, we're going to select our smudge tool. Let's just zoom in a little bit and have a look at some of those harsh lines from the oil paint. We want to get rid of those harsh lines, those wavy lines that you see there, okay? So what we're going to do is, let's have a look. You can see some of the harsh lines in the background there and on the baby. So go over to the left hand side, select our smudge tool. Make sure it's on 20% strength. I'm just going to show you. If you go over it just nice and gently, you'll see some of those harsh lines start to disappear. So I'm just going to speed this process up because this can take quite long to go around the whole image. So again, just paint out all of those harsh lines that you see from the oil paint. Take your time to do this because it can be quite therapeutic as well, but you do want to make sure that when you're going around your harsh lines that you're not getting, that you're not damaging any of the pixels in the actual layer itself. Sometimes when your brush is too big or too small, actually especially when it's too big, you can move certain pixels with the image and it just looks out of place. Also, the bigger the brush you use, when you start making adjustments, it will take ages to render because it's smudging so many pixels at once. So just a nice, a small brush, but not too small, like the size you see in front of you here. And then again, just go around your whole image where you see all the really harsh lines, and then let's just smoothen them out. I really love this look. It's a look that I tend to create in a lot of my images, and it relaxes me as well, so that's why I tend to use it a lot. Again, if you're liking this video, please like and subscribe. Help me to grow this channel. I want to provide you with more tutorials, and I want to make sure that the right people are, they're learning from it and that they're enjoying it. Okay. Hopefully in the near future I can start to get accepted by some of these NFT companies, and let's see if we can get some pieces sold. Okay, so just go around the edges, all those harsh lines, let's get rid of them. Like so. Let's zoom out. Let's create an adjustment layer on top of everything. Create a solid color adjustment layer. Let's change the color to black. And let's change the blend mode. Actually leave the blend mode as normal, but just turn down the opacity a little bit. Okay, let's select a nice soft black brush and make sure that we click on the mask to the right of the color fill. Make sure again that it's a nice soft black brush. The flow is around 30%, and let's just blend out some of the dark pixels, and that'll bring in the bright pixels back from underneath. Press Shift, Control, Alt and E once more. Go to Filter, Other, High Pass, leave as 2.0, click OK, then change the blend mode to overlay. And there we have our final image, folks. So I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope it was easy enough for you to follow along. If you do create this look, please be sure to tag me on Instagram at the Irish Photoshopper. That would be great. Please leave your comments below in the video for suggestions or videos that you might like to see in the future. Again, thank you so much for watching the video. Please like and subscribe for more excellent content coming soon. Have a great day, folks.